me, I look at modern fashions and there's a wide selection. Like you're saying, there's New York high end fashion, and then I feel like there's this new DIY cultivated thrifting with some really nice pieces you have. What is sort of your inspirations? Where do you sort of look for?
I mean, everything is thrifted.
True.
Everything I own is thrifted. I think everything I'm wearing right now, I got off the same person at a clothing swap that I hosted.
Oh, wow.
So I'm all about finding people to associate myself with who, like, kind of have an aesthetic that I would like to fit in with, and then we bounce a lot off of each other.
That's really interesting, because then it's sort of the same way I look at music scenes, where it's a bunch of bands sort of influencing each other by playing together and learning each other's sound. You're, as people wearing clothing, sort of influencing each other in that way by just trading clothes.
Well, I think the important thing to note with that is the fact that we're really taking what people define as fashion photography out of fashion photography. So rather than having these really nice pieces you're wearing and being like, I'm a model and I'm wearing this piece and everything is about the piece. Nothing is about the piece.
Yeah.
Everything is about the model.
Okay.
Which is really cool. I think it's kind of reinventing the way that we look at fashion photography.
Very interesting.
Because I mean, for me at least, like, the people that I work with and a lot of the work that I do is more on the fine art spectrum.
Okay.
It was actually, I had to go through to find for photos. I was like, what do I have of people wearing clothes?
Oh, yeah? So a little NSFW, yeah, we cannot show nudity.
Yeah, no.
Not safe for work.
And not
But
on a public access show.
Taking stuff like that, taking fine art and making fine art into something that's fashionable is something that I'm very into. I think that's very DIY.
So coming from an art world, and you're saying this sort of like art school like mentality, what are sort of, do you try to like portray any themes within your work? Is there any sort of like metaphors or sort of like actual messages you're trying to portray with the fashion and photography?
Absolutely. I see a lot of models, because models are coming together. Models are unifying themselves. There are these like safe spaces and safe groups throughout so many different model communities, and the most important one to me is the queer community. I'm a non-binary artist, I'm a queer artist, and I try to portray as much of a diversity in what I'm showing to other people, because I think a lot of fine artists and fashion photographers kind of pick the same archetypes to show over and over again. And to me, it's not only is it boring, but it's super exclusionary to the fact that, like, most of my friends who are trans, non-binary, queer, have to kind of put on this face, this, like, straight girl face for a lot of photographers, and watching that mold be broken is something that I absolutely am having my hand in.
So, like, the model look, so to, like, quote a shitty movie, Zoolander, but you get, like, the blue steel. It's not
exactly.
pushing away from that and sort of, like...
And, like, Tigray.
Yeah,
That's a good one. But whatever your personality, or even for, you know, the trans, non-binary person, whoever is being the model, they can show their true personality through that photo rather than this, like, stringent. And that's the great thing about DIY. It's never a stringent set of rules you're stuck with.
Exactly.
You DIY anything. It's the fact that we created ourselves. We are the infrastructure. We don't need no parents, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly.
To make it really adolescent.
Yeah, the authoritative crap.
Yeah, no authoritative. You know, here at DIY, we may be in our late 20s, but we still say, fuck you, mom and dad.
Yeah, almost hit my 30s like Melonia's, too.
Oh, yeah, Carbia?
This coming July, of course.
Nice. So either way, talking about that's, I think, really interesting, because you're sort of taking your work and realizing your platform and using it to the best of its abilities.
Yeah,
so that's really an important thing to do.
Breaking the stereotypes of what people consider to be a model is really important to me, because I mean, I definitely faced some weird criticisms from photographers, or being overly posed, or having someone just in general be a creep to you. There's a lot of, like, stingy weirdness within the photographer world. Within the photography world in general, I feel like there are a lot of, like, restrictions that people place, and deconstructing that entirely and watching the fact that there is, in fact, a platform for that to happen outside of the regular fashion world is very exciting.
Yeah,
It's all very
I
exciting.
think that's great, and I think, like you're saying, it's sort of rewriting the mold, especially when we're talking about models. So it's really like a new frontier that I feel like is being pushed through, and it's kind of like that in all aspects of almost every creative avenue right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like the most refreshing, like heartwarming thing to see in this shitty, like tyrannical, whatever. I'm going too extreme, but this shitty world, this shitty country we're living in right now, and sort of the outlook of the future, and my optimism is dwindling as I'm talking to you. And I'm sorry,
totally
Sheri. I'm sorry.
understand. It's getting sad. It's getting bleak.
No. We're having fun.
honest.
We always party here. So I'm always into getting some advice myself here on the show. So we were talking how my aesthetic is that of an aging skateboarder and or hipster circa 2013. So those are both my aesthetics. Now, would you say there's anything someone of my look and feel should kind of like any pieces I should look out for if I see them on the racks?
I mean, definitely the socks. The sock game is important. No, I'm matching. I'm literally matching my socks. To my
the
shirt.
That's the
it's
key.
important. It is the key. You did that. You pointed that out, and I was like, yes, true, exactly. But if your hat matched your socks, which matches your shirt, then you would have like a complete.
That's okay. So the hat needs to change. Okay.
But the beanie is good. Like the
beanie.
aging, like skateboarder look, like is gonna be in. Like you
It's
look like you
forever.
came out of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and it's still in
Cute blue heart.
2018.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go
Cute blue
shred
over
later.
here.
You should shred.
I should
Yeah,
shred.
definitely
I'm definitely
shred.
like